Hey everybody, it's your boy Captain Hunter coming at you again. Thank you so much for checking out this episode. I really appreciate it. Okay, so we're gonna get into it. I'm a guy from the internet. I'm just a guy from the internet, just trying to make some videos. Um, let me see. So I got a couple of stories here. Somebody sent me the story, so I appreciate that. I liked talking about police stuff, criminal justice related ideas, even office politics, particularly with Tiffany Mayer Henyard and the whole situation that she's got going on there. Just the whole political landscape that goes on within government and all that. I'm not going to turn this into a political show, but that's the way that it is. So let's see. So we got this story right here. We're going to cover a couple of things for today. So this was a story about a Florida police officer who was fired, and we're going to kind of review this for a minute. I get paid to do really in-depth analysis of this. So I'm giving you a surface view. I'm not looking at people's backgrounds. I'm just read a story or two just to try to catch up. But in-depth analysis, complete breakdowns and stuff, I get paid to do that. So you want me to get paid to do that? Send me some money or pay me or hire me to do it. Besides that, I'm just a guy in the internet. So no, I'm not a journalist. Don't get on my comment section talking about that. I'm just a guy talking about his time in law enforcement and how I see the world and all that kind of stuff. So let's check out this particular police officer who was fired. And then we have subsequent video talking about her getting her job back. I'm just seeing this. So I know this might be too old to some people, but I'm just seeing it for the first time. So here we go.
You don't get to tell me what to do.
Yes, I do.
No, you don't. Why are you yelling at me?
Because I have every right right now.
What's your badge number?
321 Guerrero, G-U-E-R-R-I-A. Make sure you spell it right.
If you're this scared of a guy in a swimsuit...
I've been here for 20 years.
You're terrified of a guy in a swimsuit. I didn't do anything.
You can shut your mouth.
They just detained me. I explained. There's no gun. That guy has a gun.
I don't detain anybody for no reason.
Then what reason?
Because I told you...
What crime did I commit for you to detain me?
Can you shut your mouth so I can explain it to you?
Are you in charge of this lady?
After the internal affairs investigation, she was deemed ethically and emotionally unfit to serve in law enforcement.
Are you a supervisor? No. Supervisor. Someone explain why I'm handcuffed.
Now here's what I will say. That's pretty much the interaction right there. Here's something I will say. If these guys, let's rewind this a little bit. I want to see what they had in the back of their shirts there. I don't know if that's a sheriff's department or they were actual police or security of the facility that they were at. But in particular, post George Floyd, you have a duty to intervene. That means if you see one of your officers really kind of acting this way, they should be disciplined as well because you left her there, right? Maybe she needs to go do some reflection, go do some investigation, right? And leave and get this guy away from, because she's obviously behaving in an erratic manner. So police officers out there who are watching this, you have a duty to do something about this. Think about that. I hope that this doesn't kind of wear off. I covered a case where there was a police chief who his subordinates didn't really intervene. I think that the Acorn incident with the police officer who started shooting into the vehicle and her sergeant also started shooting. She started with the sympathetic fire. I think that she should have been held liable as well. So I don't get maybe not terminated, but certainly you're shooting at something you don't even know what you're shooting at. And then both of them missed. So listen, I have an issue with that. So these guys are walking away. I don't know if they're management, if they're security for the management property that they were at, and hopefully this will become more apparent when we show another video here. So.
Explain why I'm handcuffed.
Can you shut your mouth so I can talk to you?
Look at you. You're furious. What did I do?
You did not listen.
You're not my boss.
Listen to me.
I don't need to listen to you.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't. Who are you?
No. This is the only way
I didn't commit a crime. I didn't commit a crime. She doesn't get to detain me.
Yes,
Pull her gun on me.
Because when you put your hands in your pocket and I
didn't
get
commit a
a phone
crime.
call of a
I don't
gun,
care. You're that terrified? You shouldn't be a cop if you're that terrified.
I've been here for 20 years, punk.
Yeah. Here. Go somewhere real.
Go somewhere real. Whatever. I guess he's They're from Florida, so maybe he's talking about go to Miami or Tallahassee or some big place and try to act like that. I guess that's what they're assuming. All right, so let's get into it. She actually got fired, as the video said. So now we're going to get into this is a news story from WPTV News. Palm Beach Gardens officer fired after drawing pistol on swimmer. So let's check out this story. This is the same thing with just a little more detail.
Ryan Gould says shortly after he called police to his complex's swimming pool in May, Palm Beach Gardens officer Bethany Guerrero hopped out of the squad car. And this happened.
When you had that gun pulled on you, what went through your mind?
When I see this lady screaming and shaking at me, and I know I'm just there in a swimsuit looking for help, anything could have happened.
Gould says he called police after a dispute with neighbors, and he noticed one was armed.
And I wanted the police to come in, calm down the situation.
3.5 months after this confrontation, Palm Beach Gardens police fired Guerrero. Her personnel record shows she's been in trouble before. I found in 2020 she was suspended when she accessed a restricted database for personal information involving a domestic-related matter. In 2019, police reprimanded her for what was called an instigative verbal exchange with a suspect before an arrest at the Palm Beach Gardens Mall. We tried to contact Bethany Guerrero through the...
that's interesting language. Instigative verbal exchange, right? Because now they have a duty to intervene. They have a duty to de-escalate, right? Those are two things that most states have adopted, despite Congress not having adopted these things. I think it was right that many states adopted this, or even if the state didn't do it, many police departments themselves have adopted this as part of their policies and procedures, etc. So it's good, and this is what they got her for, or been looking at. Not investigative, I almost said that. Instigative. Verbal exchange, right? So you got to calm things down.
Police union, and we were told she didn't want to be interviewed. As for her personnel files, we also found on 2 occasions she jumped into a lake or canal wearing her police uniform.
I guarantee you there's nothing in that, right? It makes it seem like he went in there and got the personnel files. They do not give up personnel files. It's just a couple of papers. I guarantee it's just a bunch of papers in there, some copies of something else. Probably his lunch menu or something.
And saved lives. The most recent in 2015, the headline reading, Bethany Guerrero risked her life to save a wayward swimmer caught in a pipe. But Ryan Gould says he was an innocent man who Brittany Guerrero drew.
Is this guy over here pulling his gun too? see, this is what I'm saying. This is how you get incidents like the sympathetic fire incident with the Acorn event, or you get situations like Sonia Massey. Listen, you officers out there, you should be de-escalating, saying, whoa, I got this. Right? Step in. I know sometimes people are senior, sometimes they're a supervisor. I know it's uncomfortable, but I guarantee if you read your policies and procedures, if you have something like this, it should say something regardless of rank. You have an obligation. Why are you pulling a gun on it's hot in Florida, making him lie down on the ground, not in the grass. I mean, what is going on here? I mean, I would say it's okay to put your hand on your gun, because you got a call about a gun, right? Somebody reported a gun. So somebody called about a gun, and you don't have no idea who this is. But somebody's coming up to you. They're coming up to you. Sir, just keep your hands where I can see him and all that, right? He's clearly, have him to spin around. Clearly, this guy's not concealing anything. I mean, he could have it in his shorts or whatever, but okay, just keep your hands where I can see him. Spin around. Let's have a conversation. Whoa, stop right there. I get it. There's a gun. I get it. There's a gun involved, but there's better tactics than pulling. That you have gone all the way to the use of lethal force. And this other guy, if I'm seeing this correctly, has pulled his gun as well. Well, she's got her gun out. Let me pull my gun out. It's crazy.
A gun on and drove him to the Palm Beach County Jail.
Looks young.
I'm next in line to, go be strip searched, get whatever, my uniform, and be sent to jail.
Now it's back to
And
mom. What's
then
up with this?
I'm told
It's
it's
gotta be the video.
my lucky day. I'm free to go.
So she got her job back. I think that's it. Let's maybe check out another. Okay, this is a lawsuit filed about it. Let's check this out. I think the other guy had a taser. Let's check this one out. This is from
a swimming pool last year after getting into an argument with another swimmer. Gold is suing because he says his civil rights were violated, even though he complied with the ex-officer, Bethany Guerrero. And then
this guy comes up, having whatever argument, pulls up with a gun on, right? Gun on his hip, right? Showing his authority, right? Looks like she's videotaping, whatever they're arguing about. He calls. Obviously a call came in about a gun. So, so I mean, there's more details, right? It took 3 months of an investigation before they decided to do it. So, you can't just go in here and just say whatever, right? So they got to review her. What's involved in the termination process would be a review of her personnel record, which, they covered slightly, talking to all witnesses involved, getting all body camera tapes, all audio tapes, the dispatch tapes, seeing what they were called to, because they have to take that into consideration, because officers, whatever's happening during the call, all aspects and facets have to be discussed and explored. So all that is coming up here. So that's that story. And I wanted to cover the Breonna Taylor. Let me know your thoughts and your opinions. Hit me about that. I want to cover the Breonna Taylor incident here, because if anyone's heard, right, remember Breonna Taylor was the one who the police officers were executing a warrant in Kentucky. I believe it was St. Louis. I think it was St. Louis. We'll read the story. Actually, this is kind of small here. Okay. So this comes from CNN. And let's see what happened. So during the execution of the warrant, the boyfriend is there. He pulls out his gun, and because he thinks somebody's breaking into his home, and he starts firing, and she gets killed in the flurry of fire that their officers return fire, and all that. She wants to sue, and federal felony charges felony charges were charged against them, and apparently they got off, or there's not going to be any charges. So we'll read through the story here. 4 years after Breonna Taylor was shot and killed in her home, a federal judge, it was a federal judge, has dismissed felony charges against two former Louisville, a Metro Police Department detectives who worked on a search warrant in the forced entry raid. And I think this is the one I have experts weigh in. Experts explain why felony charges. Yeah. So I want to get their opinion. And these are, I'm not a lawyer, never been to law school. I can only give you what police officers should be doing and all that. But I do definitely want to hear, and I did read through the story. I kind of skimmed through it. And they do have lawyers telling us why they got thrown out. Louisville Detective Joshua James and Sergeant Kyle Meany were federally charged in 2022 with submitting a false affidavit to search Taylor's home ahead of LMPD's raid, then working together to create a false cover story in an attempt to escape responsibility for their roles in preparing the warrant that contained false information according to documents. Seems pretty damning, right? You create a false narrative in a warrant, you lie in your warrant. As a result of lying on a warrant, you execute a warrant that other officers presumably don't know, and as a result of your lies, this is my opinion. As a result of your lies, you kick in somebody's door, or you force entry into a no-knock warrant to somebody's home. They don't know what's going on, and they return fire, and they start firing. Police officers return fire, and then kill someone. It seems to me that if you hadn't lied on the warrant, we wouldn't be in this situation. But oh no, that's not the case, right? So I am not a lawyer, right? But I did pull up. Here's something that we discuss in law enforcement, right? It's called the good faith exception. Good good faith exclusionary rule, good faith exception. Provides an exception to the Fourth Amendment. Fourth Amendment being you have the right to remain, you have the right to be free from illegal searches and seizures. The police department, police officers, agents of the state should not be kicking in doors, making you give over your cell phone, searching through your laptops, any of your personal effects or anything like that, unless they have a warrant. But the good faith exception says, well, even if the officers acted in bad, even if the information was wrong, let's just say that they had the wrong address. Everything throughout the warrant said 123 Main Street. Meanwhile, the place that you live at is 125 Main Street, and the house that they go into was 125 Main Street. So they actually went to the right address. Everything was correct except for that this was a wrong address. Just giving an example. That was on the warrant. A defense attorney could say, well, you're at the wrong place. You were surveilling the wrong place, right? You had 123 Orange Street. 123 Main Street. But now this is a mess. So the good faith exception says, yeah, but they acted in good faith on information. Everything else was cool and right and all that kind of stuff, right? So that's, and I'm bringing it up to say, I'm wondering if, as we continue to read through the story, if that's what the judge's thought processes was. And they've got to give explanation. I have not read his explanation, but we'll go on with this. But U.S. District Court Judge Charles Simpson ruled Thursday that his decision by Taylor's boyfriend, Kenneth Walker, to fire his gun when officers burst into his home was the legal cause of his death. So it wasn't the lying on the report. It was the fact that this guy started shooting at police officers. He wouldn't be shooting at police officers if they didn't lie. I'm laughing at this, but this is clearly not funny. This is clear. This woman is dead because these guys lied on their report. Rather than a warrantless entry, according to court documents, the drop charges carried a maximum sentence of life in prison. They don't. I'm telling you, the reason they don't want police officers to be turned off. This is why they do that. This is why they do it. They don't want police officers to be turned off from doing their jobs. They already have a deficit within law enforcement concerning people who want to become police officers, and they don't want people being turned off. This is why they did it. Motions to dismiss other charges were denied, and the two still face civil rights charges that could be sentenced to years in prison. Here's why the judge made the decision. How CNN analysts interpret it. Judge ruled falsified affidavit did not directly kill Taylor. Wow. So by the same logic, a guy's drinking at a bar all night. He gets in his car, drives down the street, and kills somebody. He kills another passenger. He kills another driver going head on, right? The same logic would dictate, well, it wasn't the drunk driver that did it. It was the guy who's driving, who got in his car to decide to drive at another time, right? If you wouldn't have been driving, this drunk driver wouldn't have killed you. It's the same logic. But I'm telling you why they're doing this. James and Meany stand accused of willfully depriving Taylor of her constitutional rights by drafting and approving, and I agree with this, drafting and approving a false affidavit to obtain a no-knock search warrant, while knowing the affidavit contained false and misleading statements, omitted material facts, relied on stale information, right? All this is part of what goes into a search warrant, search and arrest warrant, but mostly search warrant. Search warrants have to have fresh information, right? You can't, right? If you've been performing surveillance on an apartment complex for 3 months, and now the third month, now you want to start writing up the stuff. You really shouldn't be using stuff from the first month of surveillance. You should be using more recent information, because that other stuff is stale, right? Things get moved, people die, all this stuff, right? So you got to use the most relevant information. But no, they use stale information, and was not supported by probable cause. Wow. The Department of Justice said in a statement in 2022, both men knew that the execution of the warrant would be carried out by armed LMPD officers and could create a dangerous situation for both officers and for anyone who happened to be in his home. Imagine if imagine if this happened and you killed a kid. I mean, somebody died. This is the worst that it could be. It can't get any better than this. It can't be any less egregious than this. I should say it like that. This woman died in her home sleeping. Police kicking your door. I'm grabbing my 9 and shooting. However, Judge Simpson concluded that the falsified, and I tried to click on this because I want to read the actual thing here. Yeah, it's not. Was not what killed Taylor. Taylor's death was proximately caused by the manner in which the warrant was executed, court documents say. Kenneth Walker's decision to open fire. He didn't have to open fire. He could have just let these people just break into his home. That's the course of action he could have taken. As alleged and argued, was the natural and probable consequence of executing the warrant at 12:45 a.m., nearly 1 o'clock in the morning, on an unsuspecting household. The decision prompted the return fire, which hit and killed Taylor. In the early hours of March 13, 2020, when officers executed the warrant at Taylor's apartment, she was in bed with Walker, and when the officers announced their presence and then battered down the front door. No-knock warrant. Taylor and Walker yelled to ask who was at the door, but got no response, Walker said afterward. Thinking they were intruders, Walker grabbed a gun he legally owned and fired a shot when the officers broke through the door. That triggered a volley of fire from officers. Taylor, who was standing in the hallway with Walker, was shot multiple times. Walker was not injured. From the prosecutor's perspective, they say that from the moment where these police officers provided false information to a judge to get this warrant and then went and executed the warrant, knowing the information that was provided was false, that every single thing happens after that is a violation of the law, right? This is the fruit of the poisonous tree argument. You know, everything that you did wrong, everything else is one thing you did wrong cascades into another event of other things you did wrong. And that the civil rights of Breonna Taylor were violated, said Misty Myers, a defense attorney and CNN analyst, right? So she's in agreement. But the defense argument is, yes, even assuming we did that, when the officers came into the home, Breonna Taylor's boyfriend shot at the police officers, which caused them to respond by shooting back. And because of the boyfriend shot, that cut off legal causation to hold officers criminally responsible for her death. I disagree with that, man. CNN legal analyst Joey Jackson disagreed with the judge's decision. So he and Misty Maris are in agreement, it seems. Let me just make sure I read that right. Knowing the information was provided false at every single avenue is a violation of the law, and the civil rights of Breonna Taylor were violated. Right, yeah. Yeah. That the judge is saying, well, Walker fired a shot and that breaks up the causal chain of events, and therefore the officer had nothing to do with this and it was Walker, Jackson said. But in the law, intervening events are only excusable if they are not foreseeable. But in this case, it is not reasonably foreseeable when you're executing a no-knock warrant that someone might defend their home by having a gun. That is definitely a foreseeable event. It's the United States. We all got guns. Your guns have guns. There's more guns here than the people. What are you talking about? A person has a right to defend their property, particularly when they don't know who's coming in. You're going to put it on the person who defended their property and not the police who caused them to do so. Yeah, I think that's a bad precedent to send. Their conduct to me did result in the death because without them lying, they would not have been at the house, and without them busting down the door, there would not have been a gunshot, and without the gunshot, there would have been no death. Precisely. The charge went from a felony to a misdemeanor. While the former police officers, right, were charged with using a dangerous weapon to deprive Taylor of a Fourth Amendment right to be free from unreasonable search, Simpson's order said it has not been proven the execution team used their firearms for the purpose of subjecting Taylor to the search. Simpson's order. I want to read what he said. Okay, it's not popping up what it said. With the use of dangerous weapon language struck by the judge, the charge becomes a misdemeanor, punishable by a fine and/or imprisonment of no more than 1 year. The federal district court judge basically reduced the civil rights charges. The original civil rights charge was a violation of Breonna Taylor's civil rights to be free from unreasonable search and seizure, resulting in her death. The resulting in her death part vastly increases the seriousness of the crime and punishment, And the judge threw out the resulting in death part of the charge because the judge said any violations in getting the search warrant were not the cause of her death, said Ellie Hong, a former federal prosecutor and CNN senior legal analyst. This is crazy. What the officers said, what the judge said, is that the more direct cause of death was the boyfriend firing at the cops, which caused the cops to return fire. This does not mean the case is dismissed. They still face lesser civil rights charges, and the police officers still face charges relating to false statements in their affidavit, but the most serious potential charge is off the table. I just don't see how he's making that connection. I don't see it because they didn't shoot first. That's what he's saying. These guys, the cops didn't shoot first. This is a ridiculous argument. The cops didn't shoot first. Somebody's banging on your door. But somebody is banging on your door. I know that there's been discrepancies about whether they announced themselves or whether he heard it, all this kind of stuff, right? Somebody's banging on your door off of a lie. That's what you got to hold them to, the lie. Meany still faces one charge for false statement to federal investigators. He even lied to federal investigators, right, when they're looking at it. This dude, man, which carries a maximum of 5 years in prison. James faces charges of falsification of records in a federal investigation and conspiracy to falsify records and witness tampering. If convicted, James could be sentenced to a maximum of 40 years. What were these? I have not followed this story since then. So what were these guys doing? I'm a busy guy. So these guys are just lying about stuff, right? Brent Hankinson, a former LMPD detective federally charged in connection with Taylor's death, will face a new civil rights trial in October after a jury was deadlocked in his initial trial. Listen, people don't want to send the police to jail. They don't want to send police to jail. This is why juries get hung. They reduce charges. They want, even though they don't want, and I guarantee you that part of their decision not to do this is because they're demonizing Breonna Taylor and her alleged association in former boyfriends and stuff, right? Because he was allegedly a drug dealer and all that, right? So this is why they have no sympathy for these people. This is why this is part of what it is. Prosecutors allege Hankinson used unjustified force that night and was killed in violation of civil rights and those of her boyfriend and next door neighbors. He could face life in prison if found guilty. Ex-detective Kelly Hanna Godlet pleaded guilty in federal court in 2022 to conspiring to falsify an affidavit for a warrant to search Taylor's home and covering up false documents by lying to investigators. Godlet has yet to be sentenced. Decision will impact public trust in the justice system. Yes. Taylor, along with Atiana Jefferson and Sonia Massey, were among a group of black women killed in their homes by law enforcement in recent years. Obviously we are devastated at the moment by the judge's ruling, with which we disagree and are just trying to process everything, Taylor's family said in a statement by CNN affiliate WLKY. The assistant United States attorneys on the case have informed us of their plan to appeal. I think that they should appeal. I think that the judge's decision is reprehensible. I think it's disgusting. The only thing we can do at this point is continue to be patient. The appeal will extend the life of the case, but as long as we always maintain, we will continue to fight until we get justice for Breonna Taylor. I think I can stop. Yeah, not long after that is when we get the George Floyd situation in May of 2020. So let me know your thoughts, your opinions. Right? Is this you think that they were right? That the judge was right in this case to throw out the charges and just reduce them down to lesser charges? Essentially, the judge is saying because the police officers didn't brandish their guns and all this kind of stuff, it was okay. It was okay. But I agree with Joey Jackson. It was a cascading of events. If these cops didn't lie on their thing, and then when they lie, right, you didn't just go there, 12 o'clock in the morning or in the afternoon, just knocking on the door. You burst in the door. You know that people are armed. You know that there's guns in homes. You know that there's at least a possibility of it. You know this. And so when you lie and you do stuff that destroys the public trust, number one. Number two, you set up this cascade of events that if the first thing didn't happen, the chain of events that wouldn't have followed. I know the judge sees that, but there is such a need to protect police officers. I think that we see it from juries, and I think we see it from judges. We don't want, but here's a case where they should be held accountable because they lied, not only did they lie on their initial investigation, but it also appears that they were lying to the investigators throughout the process of what was going on, of the subsequent arrest and all that. Okay, well, tell us what happened. They were lying then, apparently. Absolutely disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. So let me know your thoughts and your opinions about these couple of stories. If you have any stories you want me to cover, hit me in the email. And I'll be more than happy to cover them and all that and give my opinion. Any type of corruption type of thing, any type of police scandals, correction scandals, all that kind of stuff. Hit me up. Much love and peace, everyone.